Hey everyone, it's Anthony from Pretty Printed here. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to extend the chat application I created a couple of videos ago by adding chat history to it. And to do this, we'll simply add a database, a MySQL database, and we're going to access that database using Flask SQL Alchemy. So saving the history, as you'll see, will be pretty simple. So I won't have to modify the app too much. So just to refresh what I did last time, I have this main.py file which simply handles the messages. They get sent in and it picks up the message event, and then it just broadcasts the same message out to all the chat clients. So if one client sends a message in, the server will then send that same message out to all the clients. And then I have this index.html file, and all it does is send the message to the server, and then when it receives a message, it appends it to this list of messages down here. So to add in the chat history functionality, I'll modify this messages part to include any of the previous messages before the socket even gets activated. So the very first thing I need to do with this is actually create a template from this index.html file. So right now it's just sitting in this directory and it's not a template yet. So I need to create a folder called templates, and I'll move the index file to the templates, and it is now templates. It is now a template. So now that it's a template, I can modify it any way I want as far as handling templates goes. So the very first thing I need to do is I need to return this file. Instead of just opening it as a double click, I'll actually return it from the server. So I'll create a route, app.route. It's just going to be the index, and I'll return render template. So let me import that, render template, return render template index.html. So that's it. That is creating the template and returning it. So now what I want to do is I want to append any previous messages that I have. I won't add the database functionality yet, just to make sure that this part works. So to do this, I'll have a for loop in here that takes some variable, loops over that variable, and actually injects the values into the template. So to do this, I'll use the Jinja syntax for, let's say, message in messages. So I haven't actually created this messages list yet, but I will in a moment. So for message in messages, and then I'll just in for here. What I want to do is I want to add a list item, and in between that list item, I'm going to have message. So this is standard Jinja syntax. If you're not familiar with the Jinja templating language in Flask, just check out some of my other videos, but this is pretty basic syntax. It's basically saying for every message in the messages list that I'm going to provide, just create a list item with that particular message, and just do that for every single message. And then here I'll create a dummy list of messages. So I'll say messages equals message 1, message 2, message 3. So I'll save that, and I'll get my server started to make sure everything works correctly. So Python main. And it's running now. So let me go to the route and see if it appears. Okay, so it says the user has connected, but it didn't show me the history. So let me look at the page source first. I don't see any messages here. So let's see what went wrong. I forgot to include these messages in the template. So of course I have the list of messages, but I have to actually send it over. So messages equals message is. So now the template knows that messages exist and it can handle them. So I'll restart the server, and using the development server for Socket.io is pretty slow when shutting down because there's just so much going on. So I'm just going to wait a moment. But in the meantime, just know that it's going to look at message 1, message 2, message 3, and just append them to that unordered list. Okay, so let me restart the server, python.main, and then let's see if it works now. All right, so we see message 1, message 2, message 3. So this is going to be our chat history. Right now, it's a fake chat history because I don't have a database, but this is a good way to get started. So now that I have that functionality, I want to now add the database functionality. So to do this, I'll use Flask SQL Alchemy. And if you're not familiar with that, just check out some of my other videos on Flask SQL Alchemy. I have quite a few. So from Flask _ SQL Alchemy, I'm going to import the SQL Alchemy object. And then I need to do a little bit of configuration. App.config, and then SQL Alchemy, I can spell this right, database URI. And then I have my URI on another screen, so I don't have to type it all out. So that's logging me into my database. And then I'll create the database object. So db equals SQL Alchemy app. So now I need to create a model for this chat history table that I'm going to use. So let's call this table history, and it inherits db.model. And I'm going to have 2 columns for simplicity purposes. The first column is going to be an ID column, which is the primary key. Primary key is true. And then I'll have a message column. db.column, call it message, and the type will be db dot, I believe it's string. I haven't created a string column in a while in my databases. It's been numbers, but I believe it's a string. If it's not a string, then I can simply change it. And let me get confirmation on that. Let's do Flask SQL Alchemy string. Yes, it is a string. The only thing I forgot is to add a length of the string. So I'll say it's a string that is 500 characters long. So I'll save that. And now what I need to do is I need to open Python, and I need to actually create this table in my database. So the URI is going to allow me to connect to my database, and then I'm going to run a command to create this. So I'll say from main, which is the file that I have, import db. And if this is successful, that means I can log into the database, and it is. I have a warning, but it's not really important. And I just need to do db.create all, and this will create the table for me. So let me go to my database and prettypr chat, and I have this history table that was just created. So the structure is 2 columns, an ID and a message, and the message is a varchar 500. So I can exit out of Python since I won't need it anymore. And let me go back to the app. So what I need to do every time someone sends in a message is I need to save that message to the database. So to do that is actually really simple. I'm going to put it right here in this handle message function. So right after printing the function, but before sending it, what I'll do is I'll add the code to add the message to the database. So I'll create a variable called message. It's going to be an object of the history table, and I'll say history, and message is going to equal MSG. So MSG is passed in from the socket. It's going to take this, create a new history object, and call it message, and then it's going to add it to the database by db.session.add, and I'll say message, and db.session commit. So with these 3 lines of code here. This will take in any message that is sent from any client and add it to the database, and then commit the changes so they get saved. So to test this out, I'll save this and I'll start the server again. And I'll refresh this and I'll send a message. This is the first message. Send. Everything looks like it was successful because I got the result back. So now let me go to the database and let's see if there's a column in here or if there's data. So you see how it says user has connected. That's one thing that got saved. Another user is connected. That was me refreshing the page. And then this is the first message. That's the actual message that I typed in and sent. So this is basically my chat history. So now the final thing I need to do to get this all working together is I need to replace this messages here with the messages in the database. So to do that, I'll say messages is going to equal, let's see, history.query.all. So with this simple command here, I'm going to just look in the history table and query everything. And since it's simple primary keys, it's going to be ordered for me already. But if you had like date stamps or something in there, which is a good extension to have, you can order by the date stamp. So I'm going to query everything in the database and put it into this list called messages. And the only thing that I have to change is the fact that messages is not just a regular list. It's a list of dictionaries. So I need to change my template to handle that. So for message and messages, this is now a dictionary instead of a simple list item. So I just need to do message.message because the message in the database is stored in this column message. So I can delete this because I won't be using it anymore. I'll save and let's get the server started one more time to see if everything works well together. All right, so I'll go here and I have, this is the first message. That was from the last session. If I refresh this, I should see it again. Okay, so I still see this is the first message. And now let me start typing some messages. Hey there. So I'll open up another instance of this, just in a different tab. And you see, I still have the messages that I sent before. So I can talk back and forth. And then I can add a third session and I still see the history. So the third person can jump in on the conversation and they know everything that has happened before. Why is that a function? So hello all. Hey there. And how about a fourth session? And now the fourth user joins and they can see all the messages from before. So this is a natural extension to any chat application that someone would make. If you were to make your own, you'd probably want to have like users so you can actually see who wrote what, because right now you can't tell it all. So it's just like one person is talking to themselves when there's really, 4 sessions going. Another thing you can do is add timestamps in the database. So you just create a new column with some kind of timestamp data type, and then you can see the times that the messages were sent. So if someone joins, they know if the message was current or it happened like a minute ago versus hours ago. So they're not talking to themselves. And of course, other things you can add are like a list of currently logged in users. So someone can join the chat room and know they're not the only one in there. I mean, there's so many possibilities for a chat application, but I thought I'd show you this, how to save the history, because it's such a natural extension of a chat application. So that is it for this video. As you can see, everything was pretty simple to do. I didn't have to modify my old code much. If you, for some reason, didn't see the original video, then I'll link to that at the end of the video and down in the description below. And that's it. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below and I'll get to it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe. So thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you next time.